Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and before we get going, I want to mention to you today in the private group, we're going to talk about BlackRock and only BlackRock, and I'll show you some interesting ties with Ripple and XRP. Now, if you want to join, go to daixrp.com. That's through the Patreon, or you can click join below any of my YouTube videos if you'd rather do it through YouTube. You got to see this. This is Jake Boyle from Caleb and Brown during the FTX collapse. This is important, and this is why I keep talking about them. My new partner, Caleb and Brown, I'm an affiliate. You got to see this right here because he's talking about in the middle of that crisis what's important for you and where you have your crypto.
I would certainly think so. I definitely agree with that statement. As a centralized company ourselves, Caleb and Brown, we take the approach where every company that operates in this space should have 100% fully backed reserves. So all of your customer liabilities should be covered by assets in cold storage. In addition to that, every asset that you do have from a customer needs to be backed one-to-one, and you should only be using your internal company working capital for liquidity to execute transactions. Now, in this case, there was a lot of vague gray areas between the relationship between the two companies. And in this fall from grace, all of a sudden now there is this major push towards proof of reserves, looking at information on chain. And we're certainly in support of that motion, and we hope that regulators will be too.
So it's important, for me, one of the reasons I put a lot of my XRP on Caleb and Brown is because we've all been through many of these things, some of you fewer than others, but to have gone through the FTX crisis and to be able to say that you as a crypto exchange were able to survive that and be able to tell you why, that you got the one-to-one reserves and all, is huge. And so that's a big, important deal. That's why I opened my account. That's why I became a partner with these guys. Go to xrpwealth589.com if you'd like to open an account. It'll forward you to my Caleb and Brown page, and you can click sign up today. It's coming up, folks. We're less than 30 days away from Bitcoin Las Vegas. It's May 27th to 29th, and we're 30 days away from XRP Las Vegas, which is May 30th and 31st. Go to XRP Las Vegas and get your tickets. I know for a fact the ticket sales are now accelerating, so you better hurry. We've got a 227 XRP. Market's kind of boring this morning. Not much to talk about there. This made me laugh yesterday, and I had to show it. So Congress they've put out a bill to prevent insider trading by people in Congress. Well, we know Nancy Pelosi was better at that than anyone. So they literally named the bill the Pelosi Act. It spells her name, prevented elected leaders from owning securities and investments. Pelosi Act. Nobody could be more deserving of that than Nancy Pelosi. Then yesterday, or what's today's date? Yes, today. Mastercard puts this out today. We announced our end-to-end capabilities to support stablecoins, ensuring payments can be made or received using them anytime, anywhere, alongside proven leaders across Web3, finance, fintech, Well, I wanted to point out to you all, Cindy Young, who is no longer with Ripple, but she was the managing director in UK board director. Where'd she leave? Mastercard Data Services, where she was the digital and fintech segment global lead, responsible for segment strategy, value propositions, go-to-market, and prioritizing investments for capability building. Wonder why she thought it was a good idea to go from Mastercard to Ripple. And then there's this from Smoke. This was a slide at a conference. Domestic CBDCs, Mastercard committed to making CBDs as easy to use as money. Mastercard partners, Ripple consensus. And then look, I've talked a lot to you about the dark side of crypto. And I've always said about crypto, folks, this can go the evil route, or it can go the innovation and for positive change in the financial system. I'm banking and hoping that we're going the good route.
If you look at
but it doesn't mean you don't need to understand the bigger picture of what some of these people are and what they would like to do.
Group of people who meet through the BIS.
What's that?
The BIS is the Bank of International Settlements, and it's the central bank of central banks.
Where is that located?
It's in Basel, Switzerland, and it has 63 of the most powerful central banks as its members, and the New York Fed and the Fed are both shareholders. They became shareholders in 1994.
In one sentence, what's the purpose of the Bank of International Settlements?
Okay, so there are two things you need to know about the Bank of International Settlements.
I'm not sure my brain's big enough for this, but keep going.
It is.
Okay.
It has sovereign immunity.
What does that mean?
It's above the law.
It's its own country.
Right. It's its own country. It has its own police force.
That's creepy.
And essentially, other than one of its staff being in a car accident or, minor things, no one has the legal authority to move against it. Okay, it has sovereign immunity. That's number one. Number two, it can move money and hold it on its on its balance sheet and manage money secretly. So if I want to, I'm grossly oversimplifying, if I want to steal $21 trillion from the U.S. government and park it on the balance sheet of the BIS, it can move it anywhere in the world and it can keep it on its balance sheet secretly.
Why would there be an organization? First of all, where does its power? Like, who empowered it to have sovereign immunity and the right?
It was created.
Probably the same people that empowered the Federal Reserve to be a private company that's accountable to no one.
Created after World War I and sort of collected its powers and got going in the 30s. And it was created in theory to manage the reparations of the German government. But if you read the real history, it was because the Bank of England and the central bankers wanted an entity that had sovereign immunity. They wanted to be able to move money secretly. So,
yep. And then there is this.
That there is a concerted attempt by governments around the world to digitize commerce and to digitize currency and to basically control people through money.
Correct.
That's correct. Okay, so that was my first question. Is this happening? Am I imagining it?
It's absolutely happening. And what's important to understand, it's been happening for a long time. In other words, this is like an invisible corral that they've been building around you for a long, long time. Because how do a few sneak up on the many? Well, you have to do it very quietly and visibly before you throw the trap.
Smart.
So essentially what they're building, because it's converting a currency system into a control system. So it's really the end of currency. And what they're doing is they've been building the different digital pieces. And when it integrates and comes together, then you literally have a digital concentration camp. It's complete and utter control.
Otherwise known as the world.
Here's the thing to understand. You and I grew up in a world where there was mass media, where you were pitching stories, so you had 57 varieties of ice cream and you're pitching them to 57 different niches, but you're still pitching to mass audiences. What we're talking about is a system where you can surveil, control, and influence one person at a time. And with AI and software, each person can have their custom surveillance, influence, nudging, and control system.
And punishment.
Yes. Enforcement.
Because
that's the creepy side. There is a dark side to things. Now, this right here, look, I'm not trying to get you to look at the flashy numbers, but I do want you to understand the overall point. I saw this video going around yesterday, and I just want you to think in terms of look at all the money that is potentially going to go through XRP, and just understand just how massive this could get. I'm not saying it will, but if XRP ends up with just a small percentage of the money flows, the price would be gigantic.
Let's do some crazy XRP projections. Let's go. All Japanese banks using XRP, 25 trillion. The depository, Trust and Clearing Corporation, 3 quadrillion. SWIFT, 1.5 quadrillion. The top 10 U.S. banks, 12.5 trillion. Tokenization, 2 trillion. Mastercard, 9 trillion. Visa, 16 trillion. Derivatives market, 1 quadrillion. American Express, 1 trillion. And the new deal with Hidden Road, 3 trillion. Now you add all this up, and the total is 5 quadrillion, $530 trillion, possibly running on the XRP ledger. So let's lowball it and say that XRP only got 1% of the 5.5 quadrillion volume. That would give it a market cap of 55 trillion. And price equals market cap divided by circulating supply. So that would be 55 trillion divided by 58 billion. Circulating supply gives you a price of $943. That's at 1%. Let's say they got 10%. That would be a market cap of 550 trillion, which in the end gives you a price of $9,438. So then let's just split it right down the middle. They get 5%. That would end up being a price of $4,719. So the volume numbers of all these partnerships are fairly accurate, but the outcomes are very highly dependent on many factors, like the big one. How much will XRP be in demand?
Interesting video. Look at this from Crypto Wizard. Hold on tight. I repeat, when it can't break down, there's only one way up. XRP BTC is trying to break out a falling wedge within a symmetrical triangle after faking out. This is even more bullish. Only a matter of time. Look at this. May 2nd, Chris Larson. They're calling in the big guns, I guess. Chris Larson, Ripple and SEC Paul Atkins meeting. Chris Larson, executive chairman of Ripple, plans to meet with Paul Atkins, the new chairman of the SEC, on Friday, May 2nd. That's this Friday. Meeting will focus on future of blockchain technology. This could be a key moment for Ripple, XRP, and the entire cryptocurrency industry. Let's break down what this means and why it matters. Very interesting stuff. I'm going to skip that one. And I tell you what, I wanted to skip a couple of these. This is interesting. Global debt restructuring will probably be needed and could be part of the big reset. And Gold Telegraph said the International Monetary Fund says the world economic order is undergoing a major reset. There you have it. Arizona has passed a Bitcoin reserve bill. I wanted you to hear this. This is the Modern Investor. He couldn't have said it better. XRP, they have tried to cancel Ripple and XRP all these years. That's what we've lived through.
Don't understand why people don't like Ripple or XRP. I'm sure. Yeah. Usually when I say things like that, people are either typing in the comment section or you're saying things out loud to yourself wherever you are watching this video. And it's because you were fed propaganda back in 2017 that you refused to let go. And it's a little weird. We and you also know that all that stuff is a lie. We know that they can't make new XRP. We know for a fact that XRP is being burned. We know that they're working with multiple countries and governments. We know that they made their own stable. Like, you can't really say anything negative about Ripple or XRP anymore because everything they said they were going to do has come true. And every lie that people pushed out there since 2017 has been a lie and is so easily disproven. Like, you can just Google it.
He's right. We'll finish here. Riz makes a good point. All 1,700 NDAs coming uncovered. Mastercard, Visa, IMF, BIS, DTCC, and many more. And he's referring to that. This is from the Ripple SEC lawsuit. In discovery, the parties produced over 1,700 contracts, which are specific agreements which Ripple transferred XRP to contractual counterparties in a variety of commercial transactions. You know what I've always wondered about those 1,700 contracts? Since we all kind of believe there was a lot of corruption and this was to do regulatory capture on Ripple and XRP, what I wonder is if any of the bad guys at the SEC shared any of those 1,700 contracts with any of Ripple's competitors. That's what I wonder. Would that have been part of the purpose? Okay, we're going to go in the group in DAIXRP.com, which is the Patreon. Join through YouTube. If you click the join button below this YouTube video, we're going to talk about BlackRock, Ripple, and XRP. And I'm going to tell you something most of you probably know, but probably some of you newer people don't even realize. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.